Hello and welcome to The Wise Why. This morning I am joined by Dr. Jenny Gordon, and Jenny is incredible. And I only met her for the first time on Tuesday because due to my dyslexia, I missed an S off the email address. So things do go wrong in business, off my beautiful guest, and she never got the emails. And I didn't know, because that is the joy of dyslexia. So Jenny, who I met shining bright on Tuesday morning, went, I'd love to be on the show because Catherine had just been on the show. And wow, well, there you go. Wednesday, she was booked. We're here. Enough about me. Over to Jenny. Tell everybody all about you.
Hello, Kirsty. I am so pleased to be here. And it just shows you, doesn't it? You should always just take a chance. Take a chance. So I'm Dr. Jenny Gordon. I am the brilliance coach at Genuine Consulting. And I describe myself as a dangerous old crone in the best possible way, because old is a privilege denied to many. So I'm really proud that I'm old. Crone is an archetype that crosses centuries and cultures, and it's about the ancient attributes of wisdom, compassion, healing laughter, and a bit of cheek. And that really epitomizes for me kind of the stage where I am right now. It's an amalgamation of all the experience, all the learning, all the adventures, all the pain, all the suffering that I've had over the years.
I absolutely love that. And the reason I love it is because I look a bit younger than I am, which is nice. But at the same time, I'm going to say it, 51. And sometimes when I walk into a room, people go, oh, you can't have done that. Oh, you can't have done. You've had such a varied life. And I look at them and they're 25, 30, and I go, well, I do have 20 years on you. I do have a lot of wisdom. I do have a lot of experience where I've fallen flat on my backside and had to pick myself up. I love the idea of the crone. It's just brilliant. It's wonderful. So when we first met, you talked about your doctorate, and people are going to ask. So let's get that elephant out the way first of all.
I had, talking of elephants in the room, I was at an event just recently, and somebody said, don't just talk, don't ignore the elephant in the room, ask it to dance. So I'm gonna dance with my doctorate. So my doctorate is in Pediatric Gastroenterology. So it's the lay term, I suppose, is childhood idiopathic constipation. So it's not necessarily a very glamorous topic, but I think it encapsulates a way of being. So these kids have this condition. Nobody knows really why it happens. We know some contributing factors, but we don't know why. There isn't a kind of one reason that you can go, this is the reason, let's fix it. It is all wound up with psychological impacts. And so, but it doesn't kill you. It just makes your life a bit miserable. Well, a lot miserable, and your family's life miserable. And so my research was about how can we empower families and children to own, and medical professionals own the condition and make it better. And so I think that whole thing about it's just, doesn't kill you, but it makes you miserable.
Yeah.
And I still work with people who, what they suffer from doesn't kill them, but it makes them kind of miserable.
I think that's really interesting, because do you find, and this is off topic, but it's just got me thinking, do you find there's a link back to trauma in the children?
Sometimes it's traumatic, arrival. Birth can be a bit traumatic, can't it? Sometimes it's it's as simple as it's the one thing that they can control in their lives, where many other aspects they can't. Sometimes we just don't know, and I think sometimes we are often in humans, our way of being is, well, we identify the problem because we need a solution, and we're very quick to leap to solution because we want to fix it. and we don't spend as much time looking at what's going on and what are the different things that we can look at, and if we see it as less of a problem and more of a set of circumstances, how can we look at those differently, a different perspective?
Control. You just picked it on a word that is a buzzword for me, which is control. How we really, we can't control anything, can we?
Well, you can. The one thing you can control is your attitude.
I like it.
And the way you, so you're right, there's loads of stuff that we can't control, happens, life happens, and we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And I use the word respond rather than react, because response is there's a space, isn't there, between react and response. And response is a choice, even when it doesn't feel. And I'm sure, Kirsty, you've been in, I certainly have been in a situation where you think, I've got no choice, I've really got no choice. You have. You've always got a choice, even if it's not one that you want to make. You have. And so that's the gap between react and response is where you choose.
That's absolutely brilliant. It's not where I thought we were going to go this morning, because I use a thing with my daughter, it's called ACT. It was gifted to me on a parenting course, and it's adult. So I acknowledge my emotion first, then the child, and then we move on together. Saying that, I fail sometimes. I fail badly, but it does help me sometimes realize that the way that I'm reacting is my inner child going, and I have to control that before I can actually help my daughter. So it's really interesting. I did not expect it to go that way.
And adulting's really hard, isn't it? It's really hard being, some days I just don't want to be an adult. I want to be, my granddaughter is 2, and sometimes I just want to be like her. If she doesn't want to do something, she says no. And if she really wants something, I'm teaching her the difference between I would like and I want. And she looks at me like, what? But I want it, she says, and I want it now. And I said, well, yeah, yes, I get it. It's not possible to have it now, but I get it. So that inner child is a great place to be sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I wish we could remember when we were that age, we used to say no when we didn't want to do something, and yet somewhere along the line, we stop saying no and start saying yes. And then we get overwhelmed because we're saying yes all the time because we're scared to say no. That's really fascinating. So where did you go from writing a doctorate on, and I'm going to say this, on poop? Sorry, but writing a doctorate on poop, because that's what my daughter would call it, to being a brilliance coach?
Well, the NHS, it doesn't really know what to do with a nurse who's got a doctorate. There aren't, then we're not 10 a penny. And so they said, well, we haven't got a job for you, really. So we're not quite sure what to do with you. So I I got a job. It coincided with lots of other things, which is for another day. But I got a job with the Royal College of Nursing in their institute, which was a very revered part of the Royal College of Nursing, and it's the kind of representative body of nursing in the UK. So it was a great thing, and it was about helping people put knowledge, put evidence into practice. So sometimes when we go, oh, we do it this way because we've always done it this way, and then somebody says, there's a different way of doing it that we have researched and we know is more effective, and we go, yeah, but that's hard. I'll have to change. So I'm just going to carry on doing what I've always done, because why wouldn't I? So my role was to help health professionals put evidence into practice. So that was about helping people manage change. And in order to help manage change, it's much easier if you know who you are in terms of self-awareness. So how we get in our own way. So there are people who go, oh, change. Oh, let me try that. I'll do that. Oh, yes. I don't care if it works or not. I'll just give it a go. And then there are people who go, no. I get that you've got evidence, but I've done it this way, and I've done this, and I've done that, and I need all this information, and I need to be really sure that everything is planned out for the next 3 years before I do anything about it, and I want to see some evidence of other people who've tried it. So for me, it was the start of the start of putting all the pieces of the jigsaw together. So self-awareness, managing change, being the best you can be, quality improvement, because we all, I believe, want to go to work to do the best we can, and we don't always have the tools to do that. So that's where the connection, tenuous though it might be, that's where it started.
It's not tenuous, because it's interesting, because I think most of us get to where we are because, so change, I struggled with change because I like routine and I like to know where I'm going and what I'm doing, and I can get very, very uncomfortable. I would say that word. I get uncomfortable. And I watched that, actually, funny enough, in my daughter, and I'm like, oh, is she getting that from me? So I took the decision to embrace change. Now that means, as we were talking this morning, I'm completely shifting everything in the business, and that's very scary. And when you met me on Tuesday, I was trying very hard to hold down my own because I was feeling overwhelmed at the idea of changing, but I also knew that I needed to embrace it. But I was sitting there going, maybe I shouldn't go on Tuesday because actually my head isn't there. And to be honest, it was the best decision I met. Not only did I meet you, I got a wonderful coaching on goals from Jill and Katrina. And you know what? That really helped me at that moment in time. So back to the original thing of, if you don't embrace something like we did, you wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't have been at that meeting. I wouldn't be shifting everything up. So yeah, everybody, embrace change. Ow.
Oh, that hurts sometimes. Oh,
yes. Oh.
And you know, when you knowing that self-awareness of, oh, actually change is a bit uncomfortable for me, I don't like it very much. Knowing that means that you can also put in some cushions to make it more comfortable. So it's not that you're going, oh, I'm not being true to who I am, but you're putting some things in place that go, actually, in order for me to, this is my natural way of being, in order to embrace change, I just need a bit of a cushion and what works for me.
So this brings me on really nicely to the conversation we had in the Nag's Head, where we talked about somebody that I'd seen who'd posted a video that, and I'm not going to name them, but they had been attacked in their workplace for changing themselves. They had embraced that change, and they've done the biggest, bravest decision anybody ever could do. They decided to change their sexuality and embrace being a female. And I applaud this lady because, you know what, she wears her heart on her sleeve, but she got really badly attacked in her workplace. And we were talking about how diversity and inclusion is really important. Now, obviously, this month it's important, but it's also really important not to just celebrate it for the now. We need to continue that. Have you got any advice to somebody that might be struggling with the idea of embracing that change, and maybe just how to start vocalizing it or accepting it? I'm just wondering if there's any advice you can give to anybody.
One of my mantras, which is really simple, is to replace judgment with curiosity. So we all judge, we all do it. You know, I own it. We all do it. So people who say they don't judge are not self-aware enough to know that they do it. We all do it. The difference is that actually, if you catch yourself judging, is to replace that judgment with curiosity, with a question. So when you know, what's going on for you? Is it because you it's outside your is it an experience that you've not encountered? When we don't understand something, or we're not familiar with it, we can do that. Oh, don't think it's for me. So by replacing that judgment with curiosity, what if actually I asked a question rather than either hitting out, which is a response. What if I, which is a reaction, sorry. What if I actually asked a question? What if it, how are you doing? What's it like for you? Because actually, I have no experience. So I'm always horrified when I hear that same-sex couples have to really think hard about whether they hold hands in public. I was like, what? They do. It's not something that I have personally experienced. So actually, I describe myself as an active ally. And what that means is that I use my privilege for good. I own my privilege. I work on my biases, and I use it for good. And that means asking questions and having sometimes courageous conversations, because I want to understand. And the other thing is listen to understand, not to respond. So actually, sometimes I just need to say thank you. When somebody's shared their story, I don't need to go, well, if only you did, this or this, everything would be fine. That's not listening to understand. So replace your judgment with curiosity and listen to understand. Ask questions, because when we know more and we know better, then we do better.
I love that. So one of the things I'm doing right now is, and so people can understand, is I'm not watching, you're in my field of view to the right, and I can see your body language, but actually I'm listening and responding to what you're saying, because I was blessed to go on an Oxlep course, and I was taught about active listening and learning to say thank you and not offer an opinion was really challenging, but it's made such a difference to the way that I conduct life. And like you, I'm not going to steal your phrase, but I'm an ally. I want to understand. And I have a very good friend who wanted to tell their parents that they were no longer wanting to be called their birth name. They were wanting to move to the name of Marnie. And Marnie's a lovely name. Actually, Marnie was a character I played on TV, which was very flattering because they liked that role. But they wanted to change their name. And it was really difficult because they didn't know how to go about it. They really didn't know how to go about it. And they've really struggled. They now use, and I hope I've said that because and this is something that I really struggle with, and I know I struggle with it, it's getting the pronouns, I think that's the right word, correct.
Yep.
Because I'm 51. So when I grew up, there were labels. So you were gay, you were transsexual, but we didn't really go into the ins and outs of it. It was like, that's just who they are. But now we've moved on to a society where we're inclusive, and we should embrace the language. But I find it, I'm going to be honest, I find it challenging, and I get it wrong. And it's okay to get it wrong, because I say to somebody, I got that wrong, didn't I? I'm not trying to cause any offense. But, I was talking to somebody yesterday saying they're mixed race. Do I call you multicultural? Do I call you mixed race? Because what are you comfortable with? So I know what terminology to use that will not offend you.
And asking the questions is so important, because and the reason I put active in front of my allyship is because actually we need, in order to change things, in order to be really inclusive, we have to be prepared to act. And that is asking questions. When you see behavior like the behavior that you described, where somebody is being bullied, pilloried, made fun of, being treated appallingly, actually we need active allies. We need to be counted. We need to stand up and say no. And it can be difficult. There's a brilliant YouTube video about telling jokes, jokes that are offensive. And this man was in a group of people. He was telling a joke, and one of the guy who made this film was saying, "I knew this was a joke that was was actually, it was racist. And he said, and in that moment, back to that react and response, he said, I had about 5 seconds to either say nothing, kind of laugh and go along with it, or to say no. And he said, and of course, the thinking behind that is, if I say no, this is not acceptable and I want you to stop this joke. No, do not tell it. It doesn't, the world, it doesn't need to be out in the open. He said, I risk alienating myself from my tribe, because they're all these white males around a table. So I risk alienating myself. I risk me then becoming the joke, that, you know, but actually, if I do nothing, it makes me one of them. Yeah. It makes me as bad, and it perpetuates behavior, because by saying nothing, I'm actually saying it's okay.
Yeah. My husband recently, somebody came up to him and referred, and it's slightly different, but they referred to a female as a hot chick. And my husband said, can you rephrase that? That's not acceptable. I was like, I love you. I love you so much.
It's called microaggression, isn't it? It's when you use, it's those terms that it's sometimes banter. It's just banter. Get over it. No, it's not just banter. It's inappropriate language, you know? Yeah. And language is so important, and being careful about your choice of words. And so asking, I love the fact that you ask, you know, and hopefully beforehand, how would you like me, you know, how would you like me to refer to you? Because it gives people a choice. And I think that's really, really important. But yeah, standing up for, it's not enough that we, you know, you can be great on the inside, but if you're not prepared to stand up in support, then it's not inclusive, is it?
No, it's not. And that was, I thank you for your wisdom there. I really appreciate it, because I know it was, this was particularly bad. And I'm sure anyone who was on LinkedIn who saw the video will agree with me. I just wanted to go and hug her. I really did. So we've had some lovely comments from Catherine. She says, morning, ladies. Fascinating already. So true about leaping to find solutions rather than reviewing what's actually going on. I can be guilty of that. I think we all can be. And this is why I set this platform up. It was for us to voice things. And, you know, let's be honest, I am 51. I'm white. I'm privileged. I get it wrong. And I know I get it wrong. And by knowing I get it wrong, it means I can get it right in the future. And that's one of the things I try to do. More importantly, I try and instill in my daughter, because my daughter is white and privileged and is going to grow up that way. And so I'm going to empower her to ask the questions. So thank you for sharing that. Back to you. And I want to know, there must have been points along the way where you just went, oh, what am I doing this? Or, wow, I know exactly why I'm doing this. So I'd love you to talk about that for a bit.
I think lots of people, when they go to set up when they decide to go into business, it's quite often from a place of, oh gosh, and that happened to me. I have always, my background's health, so I was a pediatric specialist nurse. I've always loved every role I've had. I've never had a job I didn't love until my last job. And I was headhunted into a role. So I was quite, you know, a bit of ego in there about, I was headhunted into a big role, head of learning and development in a big organization. And in theory, what was promised was absolutely right up my street. You have a blank sheet of paper, Jenny, you can create. It's not exactly what they meant. To be fair, there was some people changes, and it was a long story. But anyway, the end result was I was testing a program out that I'd helped design, and suddenly realized as part of doing it that I was absolutely and utterly in the wrong place. I was so miserable. I wasn't being me. I felt like I was swimming through treacle. Back to it wasn't killing me, but actually I think it was definitely dimming my light, and it was making me miserable. And I had a career limiting conversation where I pointed out some things that I was concerned about, and essentially I was bullied out of the organisation. I'm sure. And you know what I remember most is standing on the pavement with my box, with no job to go to, the only income, the only earner in my world. If I don't earn, the bills don't get paid. Standing on the pavement with my box of belongings and feeling absolutely and utterly released. And I was thinking, oh, I think I'm supposed to feel devastated. And on one level I was, but the overwhelming feeling was I'm free. And then of course the next stage was, well, I'm free to do what? To do what? And so I had some coaching because I needed some to kind of talk it through with. And they suggested, they said, a portfolio. Have you ever thought about doing consulting? You know, you've got your CV, pages of experience. It would be a great thing to do. And I went, oh, do you know, I've thought about doing it lots of times, and you're not the first person to say that to me. And they said, and I said, but it's scary. What if I failed, and what if I wasn't any good at it, and what if, you know, all of the things about what could go wrong, and of course, as any great coach, it's like, you know, if you try to reframe that, can you reframe the question? What if you were brilliant? I was like, oh yeah, well. So I thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that I am awful at it, and I go and get another job. But what if this is absolutely where I'm supposed to be? And what if it's brilliant? And it's like, oh, yeah. So that's what happened. And here I am. It's nearly 6 years ago.
I am so pleased that somebody got that reframe in your head and you are doing what you're doing, because I can see, and, you know, I know after meeting you, wow, just for the 2 days, you are and you do empower brilliance in other people. It's just incredible to see. I watched you on Wednesday pick up people and just watch them walk away lifted. And that was a massive gift to be able to see people lifted after a conversation with you. And it was like, that is beautiful, really, really beautiful. So obviously I've been able to observe you, and we are, wow, how does that time go? Quickly, I'm just wondering who has helped you along the way.
Oh, I've been helped by so many people. Nobody in business does it by themselves. I'm a natural collaborator, and being in business by yourself can be quite a lonely place. So I have been helped by so many people along the way. I have a coach. I've had different coaches, because you need different coaches at different times in your life. I've had business support. I've been on courses. I've met random people who have. I think the universe sends you people you need to meet, and the trick is to recognise that they're the people you need to meet. So I've been helped by so many people, and continue to be helped by so many people. We don't do this by ourselves.
No, we don't. So this is, I cannot believe we've just gone through 30 minutes. This has been one of the most insightful conversations I've had. It's been brilliant. And we've covered everything. But this is where you get to throw something at me. I have no idea what it is. And yeah, you can ask me a question and I can see if I can answer it.
Oh, Kirsty, I just, obviously, what is your favourite kind of person to work with? Who's your if you had to pick a favourite person or type of person?
So I like the person who really is, they've done everything and they've got it, and it look a bit like me actually at this precise moment in time. They have worked their butt off and they have got everything and they've done it all and it's working, but it needs more. Or actually, it needs to be stripped back. As I said, it's where I am right now. You've muddied the water because you think you can do this and you can do that, and life has thrown curveballs at you. And when you first set up your business or you're in a corporate and you've just got so many things going on and so many people shouting at you. And I like to be that voice that cuts through like a bit of ice and goes, let's part the sea, let's calm it down. Let's bring everything together. You've got this, you've got that. You are up there. Let's bring it down and make it really succinct. Let's get that key message. Let's get that. And let's take away the overwhelm that is creating you to go. So it's like watching mirrors flicking, like my own brain, because that's what I was describing the other day, what it's like to have dyspraxia. And my brain goes like this. And I'm putting all these drawers out. It's like some manic thing. And then I go, done. And that's what I actually do for my customers and my clients. When their brain's doing that, because that's how my brain actually works, I can listen to everything and I can do, and then I get to what they need. And that is my ideal client, because it's a corporate or it's a small business owner who has got everybody sending everything in. So you've got your marketing team, you've got your sales team, you've got your video team, you've got everybody screaming, but nobody keeping it on brand and on message. And it's the same with a small business owner. You've got Instagram, you've got Facebook, Let me just unify that voice. So that's my ideal client, my own brain.
Clara, and one of my other key messages that I have, mantras, is clarity is kindness. And you've just described why you're kind. And kind is not weak, is it? Sometimes kind is perceived as weak, but actually razor sharp clarity is kindness, because it helps hugely. So thank you.
It's all right. I'm going to leave it on that one because I totally and utterly agree with you. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. This has been an absolute blast. We're going to finish with kindness is important.